Hey everybody! I have multiple cats in here. Oh, mister? Oh, he's leaving. Oh, there goes the second cat. So, Delphox was the first Pokemon that I received a gold ribbon on, and probably the only Pokemon besides Meowscarada that I truly feel like I know inside and out. Unlike Meowscarada, though, I actually play multiple movesets on this Pokemon. Without further ado, let's talk about the attacker Pokemon Delphox. Delphox was first released on June 8th, 2022, meaning we are coming up on her 3rd anniversary of being in the game. On release, way back before we had the gem-locked releases for a week, Delphox had a pick rate of 78.56%, though its release win rate came in at 50.61%. However, Delphox was considered to be really strong upon release, with its win rate being around 52% for a couple weeks after. Most of this was due to the Fire Spin move, which used to chase opponents for 6 entire seconds before dissipating. This was rampant for over a month before it was finally nerfed, and the other moveset was buffed. Fire Blast received a damage buff at that time, and Flame Charge received increased movement speed duration to encourage players to try something else besides Infinite CC Whirlwind. After seeing Delphox's win rate dip under 50%, and its pick rate go from around 33% to settling around 24%, we got another buff in the form of a cooldown reduction on Flame Charge by half a second, again encouraging players to stop CCing everything in a fiery vortex. Unfortunately, it didn't really help Delphox's pick rate, and its win rate dropped to around 48%. But it didn't take long for people to learn how to actually play Flame Charge and Mystical Fire, myself included, and the win rate climbed back up to a point where Delphox was once again considered to be slightly overpowered. So we got another nerf in February of 2023, where the Mystical Fire Flame Charge moveset was nerfed and Fire Blast was buffed. This left Delphox in a great state of balance for over a year, when it was finally changed again in February of 2024. Why? Well, its pick rate was in the dirt, so they buffed Fire Spin's cooldown and damage. This raised its pick rate from 9% to over 17%, because people love this circle. Fire Spin was doing too much, so it again saw nerfs across the board in May to both Fire Spin and Fire Blast. It saw a drastic drop in its win rate again, getting as low as 48.17%. So it was buffed again in July, getting more damage on its passive and cooldown buffs to Fire Blast and Fire Spin. We then got a nerf to Mystical Fire and Fire Blast's damage in October, and finally a buff to both its special defense stat and to its movement speed increased duration on Flame Charge in December. At the time of writing this, Delphox has again dropped in win rate after peaking at 51% earlier this year and sits at a 48.97% win rate. Interestingly, though, with the release of the new cooldown item, Drive Lens, Delphox has actually seen a slight increase to its pick rate over the past week, from 8.86% to 13.87%, so it might be a good time to start talking about this Pokemon again, because it's not only very strong, it's also not really banned or picked a ton. Let's now talk about this Pokemon's kit from a basic overview perspective. First, its passive Blaze is the same for every fire starter with a few modifications. For Delphox, it does more damage when using a move when it's below 50% HP on a 15-second cooldown. Basically, it's just some extra insurance damage when health is low. Next, its starter moves are Ember and Will-O-Wisp. Ember just does damage and is often used for secure, and Will-O-Wisp does a little bit of damage and then explodes and decreases enemies' movement speed for a short time. Fennekin first evolves at level 4 to Break Sim, but it doesn't get any secondary moves until it evolves into Delphox at level 6 when it chooses between Fire Blast and Mystical Fire. These moves are very similar. They are both straight line forward direction moves that do damage and have a slight area effect. The main difference is that Fire Blast has 2 hits of damage, whereas Mystical Fire has 1 hit that's better for secure. At level 11, Fire Blast gets increased damage and Mystical Fire gets reduced cooldowns on all its moves. At level 7, Delphox gets access to its other 2 moves, Fire Spin and Flame Charge, which is really where the playstyle choice comes in. Any move combination can be used together, but picking between Fire Spin and Flame Charge drastically changes how you should play this Pokemon. Fire Spin is more mage style, low mobility. It sends a fiery vortex towards enemies, and if it catches them, it'll trap them and spin them around, doing small ticks of damage. At level 13, when an enemy is trapped in the fire spin, Delphox's damage increases by 15% for 3 seconds. Flame Charge is more movement focused, where the goal is to weave in and out of fights in the backline. Delphox dashes in any direction and sends wisps of fire toward enemies within auto attack range that can also reduce movement speed. At level 13, Flame Charge increases Delphox's movement speed by 30% for 1.5 seconds after using the move. Finally, Delphox gets its Unite move at level 9, Fanciful Fireworks. It has an area effect that decreases enemy movement and HP recovery by 50% while also doing ticks of damage. It also has an insanely low cooldown and gives Delphox crazy cooldown reduction on its moves. Let's now talk about the held items that Delphox can wear, and then I'll go into more detail about some of the builds that I like to use. Since Delphox is a special attacker, running pretty much any special attack based item makes sense. Choice Specs, Wise Glasses, Slick Spoon, and Drive Lens can bulk up the damage, Shell Bell for cooldowns, Curse Incense for reducing healing effects of the enemies. The only special attack item that wouldn't necessarily be a great option, in my opinion, would be special attack specs, and the reason for that is because stacking on mages just generally isn't worth it. Delphox can also run utility items. Some of the best are Energy Amp for cooldown, maybe Buddy Barrier from extra shielding on the Unite move, or even Focus Band, because Focus Band is always good. Generally, there are a lot of options depending on your goal for playing, and you're mainly focusing on damage and cooldowns. Because of how Delphox's kit works, playing around trying to reduce its cooldowns as much as possible makes for a really good late game, and building around damage is also good because its cooldowns are already so low that as long as you're playing around them, you can be dealing a ton of damage, especially after using the Unite move. For this guide, I'm going to be focusing on a few builds that I will show off. First, let's take a look at the cooldown with Drive Lens, Energy Amp, and Shell Bell. The goal of this build is to stack up Drive Lens and play around using the Unite move as often as possible. I'll show you with both Fire Spin and Flame Charge, but I'm going to be focusing mainly on Mystical Fire because I just like it better. With no stacks of Drive Lens at level 15, Mystical Fire does 2059 damage. And you can see that here, as soon as I hit with an upgraded Mystical Fire, I only have like 0.3 seconds of waiting time before I get the move back up again. When I get blue buff, I can literally spam Mystical Fire. With 10 stacks of Drive Lens at level 15, I have this infinite Mystical Fire, but I also hit for 2191 damage due to the extra special attack. With Flame Charge and this build, hitting Mystical Fire basically resets the cooldown of Flame Charge as well, so you can spam both these moves with a fraction of a second of waiting time. When you add a Unite move to that, the damage just gets even more ridiculous. You'll notice that with the other build, and a blue buff, Fire Spin has a little bit of a cooldown even when hitting with Mystical Fire, because Fire Spin just naturally has longer cooldown, but still, having half a second of cooldown on Fire Spin basically means you can pretty much spam it with this build. This is where using a Unite move actually really matters, because it gets you that little bit of extra cooldown shaved off so you can literally permanently CC opponents with the Fire Spin. So there's that build, and then I put together a damage focus build with Choice Spec, Slick Spoon, and Energy Amplifier. I do think it's important to probably have one cooldown based item in there, and I just think Energy Amp is great because of how powerful the Unite move is. Looking at the damage difference on Mystical Fire, we went from 2191 with the cooldown build and a fully stacked Drive Lens to 2568 with this build. Already, you're getting a huge buff to the damage output. But you can definitely see a difference here in terms of cooldown reduction because you have about a half second of waiting time on Mystical Fire after hitting with it. Now, adding a blue buff reduces this waiting time, but you're not getting full resets like you were with the full cooldown build. Does that matter that much? Probably not, because the trade-off here is more damage. Plus, when you use your Unite move, you're still getting full resets with the Flame Charge moveset. Fire Spin's cooldown is definitely nerfed a bit, even with the blue buff, since you're waiting about a second even after a hit from Mystical Fire. But when you use a Unite move, again, we still get complete resets on both moves. Finally, I made a damage focus build where I just replaced Energy Amplifier with Drive Lens just to test out how that looks, especially because Drive Lens is brand new and it's fun to look at what that's doing. And from what I can gather, both of these items, XL Bracer and Drive Lens, are kind of broken. A fully upgraded Drive Lens has the same cooldown rate of Energy Amplifier, so you can expect the cooldowns on both movesets to operate the same, but the only difference here is the damage. Of the moves, that is, not the Unite move. I showed you that the first build gives your Mystical Fire 2191 damage, the second with Energy Amplifier gives damage of 2568, and this one gives you 2793 damage with the fully stacked Drive Lens. Generally, Drive Lens is just an extremely powerful item, but if you're worried about getting your KOs or assists to stack it up, or if you're relying heavily on the bit of extra damage from the Unite move, then Energy Amp is still viable for this type of build. But what I'm showing here is basically Drive Lens is insane. In terms of battle items, I always run Eject Button. I just think it's really valuable to have, but you can also run X Speed. There's also some argument with a full heal for the Flame Charge builds. You can make sure that you're not getting stunned out of your Skater Boy moves. As for emblems, it's pretty easy. Cooldown emblems. This is the one I've got right now, 7 black, 6 green with a little bit of HP. Gives you a little extra HP, special attack, and movement speed with an Articuno because it gives a lot of extra special attack. Any variation of this is pretty good as long as you've got the 7 black and 6 green. Next, I want to talk through my general strategy behind the Pokemon and how you want to approach it. Now, as an attacker with late game scaling, I definitely prefer to run it in the central area, but lane is also viable. Hello, Miss. Miss loves Delphox. She's also a Delphox main. This is Meepus. Ideally, if you're running it in lane, you have an EXP share lane partner, so you can get to level 6 fast, but first let me talk about jungling. Delphox has a bad level 5 gank because it doesn't get moves until level 6, so the way you can want to run this in jungle is do your clear, gank, get birds, and immediately head back to jungle for the second clear. That way you can be close to level 7 for mid birds. But generally, the early game for Delphox is all about farming. Only push if your team is getting KOs. Don't go help a teammate stack, don't stay and fight, just go farm, get your level 6 as soon as you can. Since Delphox in the early game farms very slow, you need to be on top of your clears. First clear, 850 birds, second clear, 8-minute birds, and then back to lane to prepare for 720s. If you're in lane, stay on your side, do whatever you need to do to secure farm and last hits, go up for 8 minutes. The goal for lane Delphox is to play safe until you're at your level 6. If you have a stacking teammate, don't push with them unless you're definitely getting KOs out of it. If the enemy team is stacking, stay on your pad and do your best to get last hits. It can be very hard if you're locked out of your levels and you desperately need that scaling. Delphox is also pretty good at last hitting with Ember, so playing patient and going for last hits should mean you end up doing fairly well, but don't expect to be getting a ton of early game KOs. Regardless of if you're in lane or jungle, as a backliner, Delphox should be out of range, causing disruption. Generally, it shouldn't be off laning or backcapping because getting caught as Delphox basically means a KO for the other team. This is a little more flexible with Flame Charge because it has more mobility, but one stun and it's pretty much over. So Delphox thrives on being involved in team fights and picking up backline KOs. There are 2 main things to constantly be thinking about throughout the match as Delphox, and it's blue buff and Unite move. Even if you're not jungle, you should try to grab blue buff if you can, obviously without griefing your teammates. But it's literally one of the best Pokemon in the game to have it. And you should always be farming, picking up last hits, and charging your Unite move. Since the Unite move cooldown is so low, charging it constantly is the game changer for team fights and for defending pushes. Literally farm all the time. Even if your team is rotating to the next fight, stop for a second, get those few more last hits to grab that Unite move. In my opinion, being a little late to a team fight to get your ult is the best decision you can make with this Pokemon just because of how invaluable the ult is. It is so crucial. All right, now that we've talked about the basics and some of the background, let's look at some gameplay. I'm going to be showing you 2 different games. One is a Fire Spin Lane Delphox game, and the other is a Jungle Flame Charge game. Alrighty, let us take a look at this game. Let's speed it up just a little bit. Alright, let's take a look at the first game here. This is going to be a lane Fire Spin Delphox build, and I am heading up with this EXP share Eldegoss, which is already huge for me. If you don't have EXP share, it can be really difficult to deal with. I also just turned down the volume on this. Hopefully it's not overpowering. Alright, so just focusing on getting last hits here. I don't get that one, but our Eldegoss does, which is great. And I'm immediately heading back over to my side. I'm looking for last hits. I want my level 4, my first breakpoint to get my first evolution. I get it here, and now I am getting ready for the 920 piece of farm, looking for that secure. I do get that one, and then I'm just immediately going back. If I'm a little bit more aggressive, if I am playing a different Pokemon that has the opportunity to be a little bit more aggressive, maybe I push there, look for some more damage. But Delphox is one that definitely doesn't want to get caught out, and I just want to look for those secures early. So I give this over. Eldegoss grabs that. They are not quite level 4, and I'm not sure where their central area Pokemon is just yet. It looks like they are bottom now, so I'm just going to look for last hits again. I get the big one. Eldegoss evolves. But just the only thing to really take from this early laning phase is I am playing safe and I'm looking for secures. I don't think I got that one. Maybe Eldegoss did. But I'm looking for secures. I'm looking for my level 6. I am not pushing into them. I am not trying to int or go for scores or anything like that. My goal is to just get level 6, farm up, look for secures. I look for this again. The other team isn't even here for it, so I am able to get my level 6. Immediately, I'm heading down for the birds. Ideally, in lane, you want to get your level 6 before you come in here for these birds, and then you immediately go for it. I am not really able to do too much, but luckily my team does show up here, and we want to potentially chase a KO. We do get one that gives us a double stack of our drive lens, but now, you know, we can start playing a little bit more aggressive. I am looking for my level 7 as soon as I can, but I still gotta follow what my team's doing, and right now Absol showed up and took down Cinderace, so I'm just gonna have to back up. But, you know, the goal here is now I can play a little bit more aggressive, but I'm not going to do it myself because I'm going to be playing around what my team is deciding to do. Since Cinderace went down, you don't want to try to engage that fight. Now that I have Fire Spin, though, I can do a lot of harassing, so I'm not really trying to necessarily get a KO on this Clefable, but I am trying to chase them out, separate them from their team. Now at level 7, I can head down to the bottom path. Cinderace is down there. My team wants to be down there. Maybe Eldegoss can handle that up there by themselves. You know, probably not, but I decided here to go down into the bottom path to try to get at least one objective out of this. That's just where my team is, and Delphox is a Pokemon that cannot rip objectives and relies heavily on the team to be there at the fight. So now that I'm level 8, my team wants to push this goal zone. I'm standing far back. You can see I'm standing pretty far back. I'm gonna overcap with like nothing, but in a solo queue game, I really don't value overcaps a lot. Obviously, if you can, you want to go for overcaps, but in solo queue, I just don't really value them. I just feel like breaking goals tends to benefit the team more. This is an interesting call here. I decide to go up with this Eldegoss to take down this Regieleki. I wanted the Eldegoss to head bottom and just let me handle this and try to defend, because it would be a little more valuable for the support to be down there, because they don't have a good rip, obviously. But unfortunately they don't. The other team breaks bottom goal. We're not winning. We're not doing super well. And I'm not scaling as well as I would like to be. I only just hit level 10, and I really need my level 11 for that upgraded Mystical Fire. We look for a fight here. We find a couple of them. Absol goes for Unite move, so I do as well. And unfortunately, I get Solar Beamed all over the place. I have 4 stacks of my Drive Lens, which isn't bad. Obviously, you'd want a little bit more, but it's more important to get more stacks towards the late game, because that's really when Delphox is going to be doing damage and able to participate a lot in these fights. But the enemy team is pushing on us here. I am strategically staying outside of the Cram Unite move and staying on the goal zone. And then I'm seeing that we're not likely going to win this fight, and all I'm thinking about is farming my Unite move. I just want to get my ult back. At 80%, it's not looking great, but I don't want to push into the enemy team, especially without my Unite move. So all I'm thinking about here, farm, we get my level 11, huge, and it looks like my team wants to try potentially for a push. So I have my ult, we are perfectly prepared, throw a fire spin out, immediately toss down the Unite move, Cram goes down. We might be able to push this here, but notice still I'm staying out of the way behind my team, especially behind my tank and support. I am able to get a little bit of a score in here, but unfortunately, my team does go down. We're able to get Absol, and I'm able to get out, at least for the time being. Sylveon, unfortunately, gets caught as well here. And all I'm doing here is I am planning to get out. So I'm throwing my fire spins to where Lapras has to walk into them if they want to chase me, because this Pokemon has no mobility with this moveset. So you have to use it to escape as well as hinder opponents. We're not in the best position right now. 3 minutes and 30 seconds, and I'm about to tick into another Unite move, so I have it for when they push. And again, I can say it literally constantly. Look for your Unite move all the time. You always want to be looking for your Unite move. And with Delphox, you can throw that Unite move kind of whenever you feel like it. I now have 10 stacks of my Drive Lens. We are in a good spot. I just need my level 13. With Delphox, with any Pokemon, really, except EXP shareholders, you want your level 13 for Ray, but Delphox's level 13 is really powerful for the second upgrade, and this is where I can basically look for my resets. Now, I mentioned earlier in the first part of my video that you want to try to get blue buff. If Cinderace wasn't taking blue buff consistently, I would definitely take it from them, but they are the jungler and they are taking blue buff, so I'm not going to, you know, grief them or anything like that. So I'm just going to let them keep their blue buff. So I don't get blue buff, so I'm not going to have like the full resets of moves that you would get, but you know, that's okay. At 2:30, we're inting. Absol finds me, unfortunately. But then they do get baited into a Unite move here, so it's okay. We lose Sylveon Unite move. It's kind of messy solo queue environment. All I'm thinking about at this point is, all right, we used some ults. Some of my team members went down. I went down. We need to go into the central area. I'm going to ignore whatever's happening up there. And I'm going to try to get in. I'm using Fire Spin to bush check. Cram wants me so bad. I just have to back up. I don't even have my level 13 yet, which is pretty rough. And I can't really get it right now, so I need to stay out of the way. Absol finds me. I pop a Unite move just for the shield. Eldegoss luckily is sticking by me. Without this Eldegoss, we're basically screwed. I have to back up. I'm literally just staying out of the way. My goal is out of the way. Eldegoss, a lifesaver, my absolute king, gets me out of this situation somehow, and Cinderace cleans us up. So, luckily, I get carried through this fight, finally hit my level 13, and I'm hoping I can just go help clean up what we've got here. I'm able to grab Absol there. Cramorant is getting away. I'm using Fire Spin to kind of track them, look for vision. That's another great thing Fire Spin can do, is look for vision. And now we know we're losing, so we have to just kind of go for right here. I hold my Mystical Fire for secure. Luckily, Cinderace is able to get it. And kind of the way that I played that fight was like, okay, I need to be out of the way. I need to not go down. And I had so many members of the enemy team looking for me and Eldegoss protecting me that Cinderace was just able to run in and clean it up. So, GG for us. We were able to win that one. Let me show you here. I got 4 KOs, 8 assists, 56k damage. Nothing crazy. Not a, you know, crazy damage game or anything like that, but it just kind of shows you what you're doing playing with lane Delphox. You're more so hindering the enemy team to make sure that your team can clean it up for you, staying out of the way, getting Unite moves as much as possible, the like. All right. Literally just changed the file and we're back for the next game. Moon has settled down in the background. Hey, miss. And we're getting into our second game. This one is our central area, as the casters say. And we're going to be going Flame Charge Mystical Fire. Personally, my favorite way to play Delphox, I love Flame Charge. I just feel like there's a lot more opportunities for skill expression. It kind of plays a little bit more like a speedster, which obviously that's very catered to my style of play. What I'm going to do here is look for the clear. You'll notice that it takes a little bit longer with this Pokemon because little baby Fennekin is just a baby, so you can't really do that much. But I'm going to just get this clear, and I'm thinking about where I want to go for my first gank. And a Delphox early gank, this is so scuffed, what am I doing? The Delphox early gank is usually not very eventful. Just because, you know, I don't have any moves yet or anything like that. My top lane's doing great. So I'm just gonna head down bot. Azumarill and Eevee are chilling up there. And I'm gonna look for something here, and luckily, this ends up being a great situation because I am able to get a KO. I'm already stacking up my drive lens a little bit, and that's just because the enemy team pushed too forward. I didn't have to push for that KO. I didn't have to do anything crazy or make any crazy decisions. I was just going with the enemy team inting a little bit. And look, we already have level 6. This is a huge gank for me. You expect it to be uneventful, but it's not. We did a great job. And we have 3 stacks on our drive lens early. And since my team is still in here pushing, I can look for more KOs potentially. And we do find them. Looking to get as many stacks on our drive lens early as we can. And then as soon as Pikachu comes back and my team's a little bit low, Sableye goes down, I immediately head back to my jungle. We still want to go to 8-minute birds. That's always going to be the goal. So I'm just going to clear blue buff here and just go right mid instead of doing a full clear of my jungle. Usually you would clear, gank, clear again, show up for 8 minutes, but we ended up getting some KOs, which was also nice. I'm going to back up here as soon as they show up. I do not want to give a level 4, whatever this is. What is his name? Honedge? I don't want to give a level 4 Honedge anything. Suicune helps me out of that situation. Thank you, King. And I almost grief by going down to Baltoy. Okay, not a good look. Not a good look for me. But I did almost get chased down there, and then, again, you're still gonna play the same way, except now you're clearing. I'm gonna skip red buff. It's not as important on Delphox. I'm gonna look for my level 9, but I'm going to hope that I can do it here with my team in the bottom path to continue this momentum. Since we brought momentum to the bottom path, I want to keep that momentum up, and I want to continue keeping pressure down here. I am able to get my level 9, so already we're in a good spot, and then I'm immediately going back for my blue buff. Always get blue buff. I'm going to go right back to bot. I'm going to go right back. So I ping that I'm heading right back, but you need the blue buff always. You need blue buff on Delphox. We're in a great position for me to be a little bit more aggressive than I normally would on this Pokemon because I do have a Unite move. And right now I'm just thinking about, like, I want to push this forward so that I can continue farming for my level 11. So I really want to just go for the objective. Throw down a Unite move so that Pikachu can't get back. That's another strategy, is not putting a Unite move directly on top of somebody, but putting the Unite move where somebody will have to go if they want to get away. That's really important. I grief my team here. 100%. Suicune's mad at me. Yeah, it's fair. I griefed them. I thought that Sableye had 40 points, and they didn't. They had 30. I thought it didn't matter who scored, so I completely griefed them. My bad, Suicune. With Flame Charge Delphox, you rip a little bit better, so me doing this Registeel by myself is totally fine. We can see most of them on the map. I'm likely not going to get it stolen from me. And now we can go back to farming. Always looking for my ults, looking for my blue buff, looking for my level 11. You want to spend most of your time on this Pokemon farming. Unfortunately, my team does push a little bit too hard there into that top tier 2, so a lot of them went down while I was ripping the bottom objective. That's not really my fault, but I can show up here for a big play. I jump right into Sableye ult, but hey, we have 10 stacks of our drive lens now. And they go down. I'm apologizing here to Suicune. I'm hoping that they're not still mad at me for griefing, but I understand if they are. And now again, I'm looking for little opportunities to grab last hits as often as I can. So I even stop to quick take that ball toy. in the jungle before heading bottom because I just want my Unite move back. At level 11, nearly level 12. And how great would it be if I had a Unite move here? I do not. And I do go down. Aegislash ganked me pretty good. I was trying to stay in position, making sure I'm in the back line and I'm not pushed too far forward in case that happens, but Aegislash made a good play. Going for me was definitely the call. And our Azumarill was able to grab 3. Suicune is able to grab Aegislash. No harm, no foul. That's the first time I've went down this game, so not too bad. And then I'm immediately going back for blue buff. Immediately, as soon as I spawn, going back for blue buff. It's so crucial, especially now that I'm getting close to level 13 and I have the Mystical Fire cooldowns. Look at the cooldown rate on this. As soon as I hit with it and have a blue buff, it is so important. I now have ult again. I'm just going to immediately throw it because we do have the team fight here. Looking for Pikachu. Doing the skater boy thing. Unfortunately, we left bottom path completely by itself. But I personally think that Delphox is not a good offlaner. Unless, like, I mean, it has ult, but then if the team waits out ult, like Delphox, it just gets dove. I don't really like offlaning with it, so I'm usually going to be opting to give up a goal zone in favor of farming. Because it's so important to get Delphox at this point. Level 13 Delphox is crucial. So I would rather give the enemy team, like honestly, and I feel like this is something that Unite players have to understand a little bit more. I am way more okay with giving up a goal zone than I am with losing out on potential opportunities for farm. I will let them have that goal zone any day because I am now level 14 and I can even throw another Unite move if I don't remember if I do here. But I can because its ult cooldown is so low that I could do that. Again, they're pushing bottom. They're just kind of over pushing us. And it's not really, you know, we could have somebody there, but they pushed on us while we weren't there. My team going for tier 2, not smart. I immediately ping retreat. I'm one of those toxic pingers, but I don't have thanks in my chat wheel, so I'm better than most of y'all. Now 30 seconds till Ray. My team is inting. I'm going to try to potentially help them out here, but I don't want to go around that way because I don't want to get dove backwards by Zeraora. Luckily, Umbreon's there to help out, and we don't even use any ults. So, it works out. Zeraora inted. But notice how, like, I went around the long way because I didn't want to move up through that choke because I would just get caught by Zeraora, and that's not what we want. I don't have Fire Spin, I don't have CC. So, you know, we don't want to get too far forward. And even here, I'm staying back. I don't want to get caught by Aegislash, so I'm moving away. I'm able to get them. I went even a little bit too far forward. And I have to... We get 5. We get 5. I have to go away because I'm too low. I don't want to give them any KOs. Suicune, luckily, able to grab that quad. And then we're just looking for Ray here, so it doesn't hurt at all just to throw my ult on top of it. I'm going to score, so if I do need it, I'm probably just going to get it back in a little bit anyway. And then I'm trying to deal with Sableye. I get him. I get some points. And we win this game. Yay! We do some more getting KOs on their pad, just, you know, padding my damage numbers and all that. And then we end up winning this one as well. Flame Charge, definitely my preferred build. Something to take from this. Get blue buff. Definitely get blue buff. 66k damage again. Not crazy damage game or anything like that. Heavily carried by our Suicune. But again, I think that the takeaway from a game like this is get blue buff if you have access to it. Always farm up your Unite move. Use it whenever possible. And stay out of the way until you know that you can jump in and get a KO and also get back out. Either way, it's a fun Pokemon. It's my first ever gold badge and still the Pokemon that I have the most games on in the entire game. I have like 700 something games on this thing. I would love to hear your thoughts below. if you got anything from this, if you have any more tips to add about playing Delphox, if you have Pokemon you might want me to talk about next, let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all next time. Bye!